Bam bam, what's going on, party people? Let's do this. Welcome to the Knowledge Drop. This is Focus from the Flow Mode crew, peopledojo.com and Cypher Studio representing Finland. Today we got a special episode with people all the way from Philadelphia, US of A. Our main guest today is B-Boy BoxWon, but actually we do have a second surprise guest also representing Philly, and a guy who I've been trying to get on the show for a while, even went knocking on his door in Barcelona, and that didn't work out. So I'm happy we can get two people on one episode today. So let's get Down Rock $7 and BoxWon live on the show. Let's go. Pew pew. And here we are. What's up, people? How's it going?
What up?
Philly in the house. We already
Always,
got
forever.
people tuning in. We got Why Not? We got Metal. Everybody's here. So it's gonna be a good episode. Let's kick it. How is Philadelphia right now? Is it warm?
It is raining.
No.
It is the opposite of warm.
Oh my God. Okay, I was expecting like it's a monsoon season. It's a beautiful sunshine outside and whatever. So I can get my tan on next week when I'm coming to Philly.
Yeah,
But no.
Possibly. You got a chance.
Yes, yeah, that's good. So anybody tuning in, actually, there's going to be an event in Philadelphia next week, which is going to be a qualifier for the Flomo Crew anniversary next summer. So there's going to be a elimination battle for the Flomo anniversary in Philly next week's Sunday. So anybody in the region, anybody over there, do not miss out. Win a flight to Finland, battle your way to the main event in Finland, in Helsinki, and I hope to catch all of you guys over there. I'm gonna go there with Vortex, and at least Box is gonna be there as well. Brett's going back home, so he's gonna miss out. Sorry for you, man.
Next time, yeah.
Next time, all good. Today, let's talk Philadelphia. Let's talk Philly. So that people, I've never been to the city actually. I've been to Silverback, which is more on the outskirts. I've never been to the city that much, so I don't know too much about it. I've only heard stories from Scheme, Finland, like Why Not says with the PH. I've heard mad stories from Scheme, also from Brett. Let's please take me back to the old school days of Philadelphia. Who are the names? Who are the people I need to know about when it comes to the Philly breaking scene in the first place?
I mean, if you want to talk the old school, you got to talk to this guy.
I mean,
Let's do it then.
Is a lot to summarize. I think that's what I have to do is summarize. I have to leave out names because we'll be here for a long time. But if I think about what makes Philly unique, I was thinking about this on the way over here. Yeah, there was a breaking scene here in the '80s for sure, and even where I was born in Mount Airy, there's sort of like a pretty well-known crew there. But I think that's not what makes Philly interesting, because I think the breaking scene in Philly was like it was everywhere. Even here, it was sort of like an offshoot of what was happening in media in the '80s. It didn't grow like it did in the Bronx here. Like b-boying is a Bronx culture, but Philly always had social dancing, always. And we have our own dance form called stepping, which is completely undocumented because it's like pre-70s to 70s, so it's not really been captured. But the social dance culture remained here, and the DJ culture remained here strong all the way through. And I won't talk about myself, but what I think is interesting about Box is he represents that, coming from the social dance, even though he's much younger, the social dance culture of Philly. Like in the high schools all around the city, different dances would become popular and like super competitive, not just in the schoolyards, but also in like
The mall,
parties, the mall,
the park, the bus stop.
Things like heel toeing, popping, but not as you would know it, like really sort of minimal stuff like waves and ticking, but very specific to neighborhoods, very regional. and it's always about shot. It's always been about, you know, holding your space, holding, like, you come into a cipher, whether it's in your cafeteria or in an underage club. I could name many clubs that we went to in the late 90s, but it's about holding that space. And if you can't hold it, you get clowned and dismissed instantly.
Yeah.
But what Box has done, I think, is taken that and found a way to extend it with physicality into the competitive space. So he can be Philly because he's Philly. He's a dancer first. He came up through that, and then sorry to blow you up.
It's all good.
Yeah, then like also train the physical side of it seriously as an athlete, and combine the two. So the dance is organic and natural and social, but the movements are competitive. And I think maybe that's what's unique to Philly is you have all these, like, Hannibal did it, Mock is doing it now,
Mighty Mouse,
thank you, Josh,
Maka.
That's what Philly does. That's as short as I can answer your question, Focus. I named no names, but Xenozine, got named Spit, Hussein, for being as young as he is.
Ice
did major work. Yeah,
Ice Money.
Hussein Money. He's a great name as far as someone who is from Philly, obviously.
Hussein is our Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
I'll put it like that. Hussein is our
has
Jordan.
A lot of Perry Jordans too.
Yeah, he was the guy. You know what I mean? He was the first guy to reach that level and then take it international. You know,
Yeah.
He might not have been in front of the cameras as much, but like as I got older and I started traveling, and you know, I started repping the crew, Illidale Flav, and I started telling people, and they're like, "Oh, you're from Illidale Flav?" And they're like, "Yeah." They're like, "I know this guy, Hussein Money." I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like,
Yeah.
It was always like a terrorized look on their face, like he did something wrong to them back in the day, and I was just like, "Wow, okay."
Like, he was first. He went to Paris, like when he was really young.
London, Paris, Malaysia.
He connected the street dancing back to breaking in Philly. I think he's the junction where that happened, because he learned a lot direct from New York. So he learned all the footwork stuff. He learned a lot of like twist stuff that no one in Philly would know. He learned direct from like Forrest Gump. There was a space organized by Zine where he
Kumquat.
Kumquat, thank you. I couldn't remember, off South Street. And he would invite people down like Kenny. I learned straight from Ken Swift, like when I was an 8-year-old kid. Who's this guy? I don't know who Ken, it was like that. It was just, we didn't realize how lucky we were. So because of people like Zine making a connection to New York, Philly street dance grasped the traditional Bronx styles and kind of made its own thing. Similar to maybe Flomo. Similar to a lot of the Parisian actual force breakers, taking the traditions from New York and making it their own. I'm talking too much.
No, you're doing what you're supposed to do. Excuse the cats in the background. Here, take this and run, buddy.
Box, do you agree on everything that Brett said?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I often tell people about that. Like, when you talk about the social dance aspect, the social dance that my generation was doing was different from the one that his was doing, and then probably different from the generation before that. So each generation has its own dance. Even if you look at today, where the kids are shaking their hips and doing all the TikTok dances, all of that stuff comes from Philly. So it's just a natural thing here where it's like the kids in the street, we have our own scene. Like I often relate it to like New York in the 80s, how you would go to a different neighborhood and the style would be different but the same, right? So it's like we're all doing the same thing, but we're doing it differently. We're putting our twist on it. And you could see that in Philly specifically, because Philly is a big city, but it's still small. So it's little pocket towns in different regions. So, you could go anywhere, see a different style. We would travel on a train to battle people, like you said. Yeah. We would see people. We all used to do it like the 80s. We would go to the mall and get $20 hoodies and T-shirts made with like our little crew name on there. And this wasn't even, we weren't aware of like traditional hip hop culture, right? It was just what we did naturally. We had like Team Nike, Crush Groove, Knockout, all these different groups. And we would go and get these little iron-on shirts made at the mall. And we'd be walking around like 10 of us deep. Yeah, shout out to Gallery. 10 of us in a crew walking around with the hoodies on. You see somebody else with the hoodies on. Now we got a battle right here and there. And it's like we're stopping people from getting back to work, from getting on the bus because we gotta have it out. And all we got is one flare and a coin drop. But we're going for broke.
Gotta get it done. Yeah.
A good example for your audience, whoever, international people, is if they go back and look at Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like it's okay, that's just commercialized silliness. But like whenever he's dancing, like in the show, he's a good dancer, but that's so Philly to me because all those dances he's doing are what we're talking about. They're like from in July of 1988, this was the flavor. Then in August, this dance was in fashion. And he's kind of a collector of those dances, I think.
True.
Interesting, yeah. And some of the names that you dropped over there, Philly has brought up a lot of simply just great names in the scene. You mentioned Hannibal, Maka, why not? So many ill breakers, and all of them have the soul in it. Like there's YouTube, like whether you guys rock, there's flavor and there's finesse and soul behind the movement. There's feeling to it. So maybe that culture of growing up in a social dancing background, which most of the breakers don't get to experience these days. As spice of amazing. What about the music history of Philly? It's also so deep and Chris, where do we start? I'm gonna be here for 3 hours.
Gamble and Huff, I guess. Gamble and Huff records.
Disco started here. Disco is a major foundation of hip hop in general. The whole concept of taking a record or taking a track off a record and creating a 12-inch version of it, like a 45 RPM version that fills a record for the dance floor. And then the band, like it starts with the bands and how they recorded, right? So they try to record their records for a disco, for the discotheque. So keeping people on the floor. That started here. So
did not know that.
I mean, maybe I'm going to.
No, keep going, Brett. Keep going. We need it.
But yeah, that's Gamble and Huff. That's the sound of the I think you name a million bands, but
Okay.
Patti LaBelle, the OJs.
I mean, the OJs maybe the first band to be classified as, or you could think of as a band that consciously, on a mainstream level, recorded tracks. No longer for just the 7-inch. I mean, if Schemes listen, he might be like, "No, that's wrong." But I think it's true. They recorded with the physicality of a 12-inch record, but with one track on the whole thing, like a 7 to 9 minute long track.
Mother, father, sister, brother.
Dancing. Yeah, MFSB, Dexter Wanzel. I mean, these are all like.
He's from Philly?
Yeah, man, of course.
Oh, I thought he's from Germany, bro.
What?
That's because I heard the track on like Storm and Swift Rocks.
Yeah. I mean, that's like a.
So in my mind, he was German.
That's
That's crazy.
So a lot of like that's a great example because like the legendary songs of like of rock dance, of the rock, like that's a lot of those records are Philly records that they're dancing on. So that's the musical lineage, and then we have the hip hop. The DJ culture here.
Cash Money.
Through the 80s. Cash Money is a good example. And he was an incredible social dancer who took Philly stepping and brought it into the hip hop era. And then you got, back in the day, all the Philly hip hop stars.
Yeah, I was about to say.
All of them had dancers on stage. All of them.
I mean, even if you look at it like, you separate the genres, right? The funk and the disco music was way back then, but even if you move it forward to like hip hop times, like Philly has always had the best rappers. You know, they might not have had the most mainstream success, but lyrically, we've always dominated, and we still do to this day because look at like Black Thought, like Untouchable, right? And then even if you want to go to mainstream, we still have like serious figures in that space, from like Major Figures, which is Gilly the Kid's group. A lot of these dudes went on to ghostwrite for a lot of people, because, you know, they were just that ill with the pen. They just didn't have the mainstream appeal, and they really lived like the gangster life. So nobody wants to invest money in that. from there, you got state property, which is the same deal. State property is what made Rockefeller as large as it was. You know, if you look at the Rockefeller roster, it was really just Jay-Z, Memphis Bleak, and a few other people from New York. But the meat of that roster was everybody from Philadelphia. It was all the state property. So they propagated that. And, you know, even to today, like, again, with the Shake That music, all the club, the new kid stuff, a lot of that stuff comes from Philly. So Philly's just the cultural history itself. You can find it in anything, whether it's dance, music, art.
Coltrane's from here, man. Come on.
Didn't know that either.
Okay.
I'm
So I'm
sorry,
going to take a one-way ticket
I'm gonna take
next
you to his
week.
house. We're gonna go check out his house.
I'm down for that, actually.
I'm going to take a one-way ticket next week. Stay there and dig. And, get influenced. Come back with some of that soul in the way that I dance, hopefully.
You can definitely find records because all the hipster coffee shops are now selling them because it like gives them a way to sell coffee. But it's some good stuff in there and they just don't know.
You can still catch legendary DJs who are mad underrated but still playing out too. Like shout out Black the Ninth Man. If you can catch him while you're here, that's a must. That's a must. He still plays every month in one spot or another.
Wow. Okay. So this is the easiest podcast I've ever done. What about the current generation of culture in general? Is this still happening over there, or is it more a thing of the past?
I guess you mean as far as breaking or just culture in general?
I wanted to say breaking at first, but then again, it's like culture in general, music, DJing, new MCs, dancers, breakers. Is it still like the hub as it's been in the past, or is that something that's passed out?
I would say yes and no. We do have a lot of like popular artists here in Philly, but they're more so they're not attached to hip hop culture as we know it. You know, it's very much like street gangster culture. Like a lot of the music is the Chicago drill style where it's actual wars going on in the street between different groups and the music is just a byproduct of the war itself, right? They're using the music to incite more violence, push people's buttons, things like that. You know, obviously we got Meek Mills. He's probably our largest mainstream success at the moment. You know, if you look outside of people like Black Thought, right? Because he's quiet and kept. But yeah, that's musically. As far as on the breaking side of things, the scene is kind of in a rebuilding period right now. We do have people like Mach 5, Old Dirty Wizard. You know, those are like my two students, and they're really pushing the competitive, you know, lane, if you want to look at it like that. They're really far in that lane right now. They're making their name, they're getting their wins, you know, earning their stripes, paying their dues. We got a kid here named Ronan, but he's like 10 or 11, but he's getting trained by everybody. So we're cooking him up like the next Casper. So we've got some hope. But yeah, other than that, it's a lot of the staple people who have been here. Some people have moved away. Some people have stepped away from the scene. So it's really just a period of new growth. You know, Philly is a big university city. So we always get like this influx of like collegiate B-boys that just come and go. They're a part of the scene for like 2 years and then they're gone. And you see what happens with that. So
shout out The Gathering.
Always.
That's an event that's been solid since I went to the first one. My team was 98 or 99 was the first, maybe even 97.
It's insane.
But it's been consistent since then, every month, with like maybe one miss here or there. But that's I mean, it's not free anymore, but now it's like a few bucks.
It's like $3, $3 or $5.
It was always free, and it was a space. It's highly competitive, never a prize, but it was a space where on UPenn's campus, and like both sides of the track, as a metaphor, both sides of the track would always meet there. So a lot of friendships developed across social barriers in the city. A lot of cats came from Jersey when they heard about The Gathering and how it was blowing up. So people come like, yo, Philly thinks they're all that. So people would come to battle us. That's where I met and battled Zebra Mob.
Shout out Zebra Mob.
Shout out Zebra Mob. Yeah, the ultimate bridge between culture and locations. Bedrock, I battled him when they came.
Shout out Bedrock.
Bedrock.
Crisis.
Yeah. The top, the way that they like focused on tops and came through to Philly and made us go, oh yeah, like it was, yeah. that competitive spirit was alive. I don't know if it still is, but
No.
like without any competition around it, like literally just show and prove.
Yeah, the gathering was never known for like hosting events. That came in my generation, right? But prior to that, it would be like a few here and there, but it was more so just from 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock. It's all ciphers, it's all music. We're gonna have the MCs hop up on the stage. They're gonna spit. We got the big boards wrapped in cardboard paper for the graph artists to come and put their tags up. Like it was very much a cultural hub for hip hop.
You can watch Why Not create himself there over a period of like
I feel like every
3 or 4 years.
every successful Philly b-boy has created himself in that space. You know,
Wow. And probably no footage available. So if you're not from
I've got some
Philly,
footage.
you'll never know.
there's some you
I
can
got
find
some
some.
footage, and I gave it to Aiden who's a filmmaker who's just done a documentary on the Philly dance scene, street dance, club dance scene, and you can catch some of that footage in this film that's coming out this year. It's called "You Don't Have to Go Home," but
Which
so,
is
yeah,
I guess it's an
something to
ode.
drop, I guess.
It's an ode to Philly's club history.
Yeah.
Because like when I was coming up, like, and I feel like this plays a part in the social dance aspect. All of like the b-boys that I grew up looking like getting raised by, they all went to the club to dance. It wasn't like we're going to a jam, we're going here. It's like, no, we're gonna go to the club Friday, you know, specifically the Walnut Room. I always remember the Walnut Room because by the time I turned 21 and was able to go, they shut it down. And I was like devastated. Like I was like, oh, I'll never get to experience this. I felt like it made me less authentic. I was so upset. But yeah, all of their like pictures and like we were coming up, we like add our mentors on Facebook. We see all their pictures are at the club. So we're like, man, when we get to the club, we're gonna go crazy. And never got the chance.
There was Club Space, Shampoo, Motion, Egypt.
Yeah,
Lloyd.
half of those were closed by the time I got of age.
But a lot of them, well, a few of them were underage too. That's like what I say.
Oh yeah, the
Here
underage
in
clubs
the US,
were lit.
you can't go to a club unless you're 21. But they would have nights at places like Egypt that were, it was like a whack club, but if you're under 18, you can go. So yeah, that was important, really important. That's in that environment was the first time I saw Cricket, Jay Spin, Spit, Corey, Adrian. The list goes on and on.
Shout out to J Prime, who's Philly the
JP.
Walnut. Got to throw down with Technique, Maka, and other heads back then. That's what's up. Can you, Box, maybe tell a little bit about the Hip Hop Fundamentals project you're working with? What's going on with one and the impact you guys are making?
So Hip Hop Fundamentals is an arts education company. We work directly in schools, like public schools here, whether it's elementary, middle, or high school. We work with government organizations as well as like event centers, things like that. Realistically, the way we've structured it out is for us to go into schools and just give a general performance that not only like educates kids about hip hop culture, but we also empower them to try it within the performance. And, you know, we've had success because we're able to pair not only the cultural side as far as education, but we can also pair it with the academic side of education, using breaking to teach, you know, fundamental academic subjects. I initially started working with fundamentals early on, probably about 10, 12 years ago when I was like a teenager coming into like adulthood. I grew with the company. It was founded by Steve Believe and Metal from Rep Styles. They took it over from B-Boy Knuckles, who had Hip Hop Handbook. So once they transferred that over, people like myself, Uki, my boy Cody, Code 4, and Breeze, B-Boy Philly Breeze from Philly, we all were like the new generation when they were running it. So we were just taking trips, you know, putting in the work. And, you know, we've grown as a company. We've been able to teach in different spaces, just elevate the company and just come up with new projects and things. And, you know, it's great. I'm a partner now with the company, so I'm kind of like steering the ship. Metal and Steve are like still very much in-house, but like a little bit more hands-off. So we're just trying to create something that's sustainable for b-boys to actually build a career, you know, that they have equity in, as well as like continue to do the each one teach one mission of hip hop, you know, with actual quality hip hop education, where it's not just like, oh, we're gonna go teach a little workshop. It's like, no, we don't want to create like b-boys and b-girls, you know. That would be a great plus or addition, but realistically, you want to empower these kids to be able to learn how to express themselves and learn how to take up space, you know, and we just use dance as like that medium to cultivate confidence and like competency.
There's also
That's
political
big, man.
aspect too.
It's big.
Well, yeah, I think it's cool that way. You also at the same time. I mean, I watch you guys what you're doing. I think what's unique too is that you add a political slash alternative history for some kids to like latch onto stuff they're not learning in the classroom.
Yeah, absolutely. They, you know, hip hop has the negative stigma attached to it. So when we come in and we tell the actual story of hip hop, cool, hurt, you know, all people from diverse backgrounds coming and sharing space and then partying together, and that being the inroad to create this global culture. And we connected to TikTok and Instagram and all the things that they know today, and we're like, hey, this stems from hip hop, like. So try this out, and then you'll understand. You'll have a better understanding.
You do that workshop too about racism, where you like explain it and break it down into simple ways.
Oh yeah,
that's clear for kids to like. Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, we have a performance called Civil Rights Movements where we actually use breaking to illustrate and tell the story of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s message of love and what racism actually means and like the trials and tribulations that people faced back then. And we just keep it real with the kids. We let them know, like, hey, we're going to talk about some real things that might be difficult to discuss, but you know, we're going to keep the space positive and we're going to learn because you know, black history is American history, and we want to make sure that they understand that. And we use it, and we use breaking in a creative way to teach that message, right? We have readouts that we pass out to kids and bring them on stage so they get a chance to shine and actually speak the words of Dr. King so that the kids in the audience listen and they digest it a bit more. You know, and this is all the brainchild of like Steve Believe in Metal. Like shout out to these guys. You know, Steve is very much a political guy in thought and in practice.
That makes me think of another thing that's unique to Philly is that I think here exactly what you're doing there. It's like the racial side of that. Like I feel like in Philly, uniquely, I'm not saying it didn't happen in other places, but I feel like breaking hip hop in general is a black culture. It's black music, and I feel like that was through a lot of hard work of people. And this is something that Hussein Money always talked about and preached about, reconnecting it back to black culture. Because when we were like, well, my generation, we were coming up. It's probably sadly the same now. But I feel like there was always discrimination against like black people within the scene and black b-boys. And it even wasn't, I don't know why, but for whatever reason that fight needed to happen. And whether it was won or not, at least it happened here and it was acknowledged here. Yeah. You talk to anybody from Philly and like I think they'll understand whatever their color is. No, hip hop's black culture. Like that's where you start. You can't do anything until you figure that part out.
It's just so evident, bro. I don't get it.
Yeah.
But you know, people have their motives. They get in positions of powers and they push narratives. And
another thing I've noticed moving to Europe is a lot of Europeans, they just haven't been exposed. They don't know. They're curious, but they just don't know. They just need to be told because the social situation. I didn't realize till I left Philly how unique it is here. I mean, yeah, I was born in Mount Airy, so if you do your research, you'll understand what that means. But that kind of environment doesn't exist
anywhere else, bro. It's a crazy place, man. It can, like I said, it's a big city, but it's small, and like each pocket is very different.
Yeah.
It's very different culturally, you know, from south to west to north to uptown, which is northwest, northeast. You know what I mean? Like everybody has a very different culture and a very different approach and different struggles, you know.
Some neighborhoods are highly integrated, others are violently segregated.
That is the perfect way to put it. Jesus Christ.
All at the same time. It's mad. We are so far off whatever your question was, 20 minutes.
Yeah, we've gone off the rails.
Anyhow, the future of the Philly culture and the Philly, let's say breaking and hip hop, where do you see it's going? Things going circle. There's been times when it's been flourishing, and do you think the next 5 or 10 years it's going to come back as strong as it's been? How do you see the future coming with all the work you guys do?
Honestly, I'm not really sure. You know, I don't think there's a way to gauge it. I think just the overall culture as far as just the regular street culture, right? I feel like there has to be a time where things connect back to hip hop, like how with my generation, our party style, social style dance was connected to hip hop in a way. We just had to explore that on our own. So, you know, it's kind of like opening a door, but you got to walk through it. So once that style opened the door and we walked through it, that's how I discovered breaking. My first real breaking event was the Gathering. During that social dance period, you know, I was the best in that culture. And then I heard about the Gathering. I'm like, oh, we're gonna go there and roast everybody. And then I went and I saw like real windmills, like barrel mills for the first time. And I was like, I made a huge mistake. And I just sat there on the stage all night, terrified to dance. And then after that, that was like the spark. So, you know, there needs to be that connecting of the bridge again. And, you know, people are trying, you know, people like, again, Steve Believe hosting Second Sunday, you know, providing a space for people to come and still share that like club culture space. Scheme is always playing at random places, but you're going to get a lecture if you show up. So I love you, Scheme.
It
Yeah,
always comes back around, man. Always.
hopefully,
I mean,
man.
for his generation, my generation, we're both, you know, on one point of that cycle of regeneration. Like before I start, like when I started here, it was just coming back from total
Decimation.
Yeah. And you know, that's just like any culture, man. Moves in circles.
Yeah, but we're doing what we can do, man.
There's a lot more commercial involvement than ever before, but whether that's good or bad
Gentrification has changed the landscape of the city to make it hard. You know, the desired culture, desired populace is taking over at this point. So now it's like, I'll give you an example. We used to go to a park and like in practice, just out in the open, right? Security would harass us. I went back 2 days later. There were people out there with loudspeakers doing swing dance, and the security guard just sat in the hut and just watched. So that kind of just made it it's a very stark contrast, and it just makes it apparent. And you take that experience and put it around the city, the culture has definitely shifted, and they will vilify, you know, anything related to hip hop or black culture, and they want to tuck it away, and they want to promote, you know, the desired populace, the people who take the train from outside the city to come to work, and then they go to a happy hour at the bar. So they want to cater to that audience. So we're fighting an uphill battle, but you know, we still have our spaces and we still do what we can, you know. Shout out to the people teaching in studios, teaching in their basement, you know, just making it happen.
I think that's one of the biggest threats actually too, is the lack of physical sharing of space.
Mm-hmm.
Like Boxer said, it's harder to move through the city. There's areas where you almost feel like they're gated communities or something. So, whereas when we were younger, we just went everywhere, like
on foot.
Shout out Joe Free, West Philly B-boy. We would like hear about a competition. Like for example, one time there was one up in Olney. You don't think about do I go to Olney? What's it like up there? You just go, you get on the train and you go up there and see what's up.
Yeah, very much not that.
That's not happening now.
We're about to see, yes, last section of the show, underrated or overrated. I'll come up with quick boom things, and we'll see, what do you guys think, underrated or overrated? You guys ready?
This will be fun.
The Philly cheesesteak.
No comment.
Man, if it's prepared properly, underrated.
Overrated in general, overrated.
Yeah, it's not something you want to eat every day.
Come on, this is another show. This is a separate show. Like every neighborhood has a different kind. Come on.
Good cheesesteak is underrated though, because when it hits, it hits. But then people are trying to do the cheesesteak so hard nowadays, and it's like, what is this? So yeah, underrated for me.
Both for me.
Context matters.
Context matters.
The Philly shell.
Ooh, underrated.
I didn't even hear what you said.
The Philly shell, the boxing stance.
Oh yeah.
Underrated, because you see a lot of the top fighters nowadays use that. From people like Jerron Boots Ennis to Terrence Crawford. Who else? Well, Errol Spence tried it. He's not really good at it. People like Raymond Muratalla, you know, Carmel Moten, Floyd Mayweather. The come on, I'm a boxing guy, so like you can see it.
That's your name.
You can't. Do you not see? There's
No,
a shit ton of gloves right there in the house.
Beat killing.
I don't even know what that means. What's beat killing?
Yeah, that's what kids say when you dance now. When
Oh, you mean dancing?
Yeah, when you dance on beat, they're like, ah!
Underrated because there should be more of that. I mean, what?
Beat killing, overrated because I can see you timing to set it up, and you're not doing anything like majestic with it. It's like handstand, elbow, air chair, and then like, "Wah!" So yeah, that's whack. I call it dancing. You're supposed to be on beat.
True. Puma Clydes.
Overrated.
I actually never liked the Clydes at all, ever. Not, I mean, they look cool, but as far as the shape on the foot, I always prefer suede.
I was a gazelle man myself.
All right, last
He
one.
took that
Produced
personally.
beats in battles. Produced beats in battles.
Overrated, 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 overrated,
I just
overrated.
leave.
Yeah, and I get it, right? And I know DJs get attacked for this a lot, but it's like I truly understand, right? Breakers don't understand the business side of it, right? Like where you legally cannot play certain stuff because of licensing and all that stuff. So I understand trying to make lemonade out of lemons, right? But when you produce beats, they lack that warmth that is necessary for breaking, like whether it's like hip hop records, funk and soul records, there's something about like just the artistry, the different levels of artistry that came into it, whether it's the instrumentalists all coming together with the vocalist or the producer coming together with the MC. Like there's a certain harmony there and there's a life to it. Because
they haven't passed through the 36 chambers that all other records, like people make music all the time, and only certain parts of those pieces of music are made are where people go, yo, that's the shit. And that's what a DJ's job is to grab those
shit,
choice things. But if you're producing a beat and just giving it, the community, the streets, the people haven't like chosen it. It's been force fed, and it's usually it ain't doing
it.
Yeah. Overrated.
Overrated.
We're just supposed to say one word.
Sorry, I gotta explain my position, man. I gotta get it off my chest.
That's what's up. Cool. I like the talk. I've enjoyed it a lot, learned a lot myself, and get to experience it next week. So anybody listening to this promo anniversary qualifier going down in Philly next week, Sunday. Thank you guys both for the time and the inspiration. And I'm gonna search for some stepping and Cash Money doing all the dance moves while he rocks his DJ sets and all that. There's a lot to learn.
Yeah, it's so hard to find.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys.
Well, I appreciate you, bro. Thank you.
Catch you next week, Box and Brett. I'll see you in Europe very, very soon. Okay. Peace. Take care. Bam, bam. And anybody else tuning in, head out to bboydojo.com. Get my free footwork workshop over there, and we stay in touch. Catch up with the episodes coming up soon. Flomo anniversary qualifier in Philly next week. Battle your way to Finland in Helsinki for the main event. Thank you guys for tuning in. Stay in touch, y'all. Knowledge Drop signing out. Peace.